Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanam Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayyam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Uttamaujāḥ Shri Gurur Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakhanvitamscha. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti-Vedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Devye Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaye Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratvishe Namaha. He Krishna Karuna Sindho Deenabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapte Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Vancha kalpatarubhasya kripa sindubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Hare Krishna. So today we will discuss from Bhagavad-Gita chapter 1 entitled Observing the Armies, and in particular we will discuss text 4, 5 and 6. So we all will recite together and then one by one we will discuss. Text 4. Atra shura maheshvasa Bhimarjun samayudhi Yudhāmanyuḥ viratascha draupadeyāścha mahā-rathāḥ. Text 5. Drashtaketushchekitana Kāshirājascha vīrya-vān Purujit kunti bhojascha Shebhyascha narapungava. Text 6. Yudhāmanyuścha vikrānta uttamaujāścha vīrya-vān saubhadro draupadeyāścha sarva eva mahā-rathāḥ. So, synonyms and translation and purport given by His Divine Grace Abhay Charanarvind Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Atra, here. Sura, heroes. Mahā-ishu Ashaha, mighty bowmen. Bhima Arjuna, to Bhim and Arjuna. Samaha, equal. Yudhi, in the fight. Yudhāmanyuḥ, Yuyudhana, Viratah, Virat, Cha, also, Drupadah, Drupad, Cha, also, mahā-rathāḥ, great fighter. So, we all can recite you after me. Here in this army are many heroic bowmen, equal in fighting to Bhima and Arjuna. Great fighters like Yudhāmanyuḥ, Virata and Drupada. So I read the purport. Even though Drishtadyumna was not a very important obstacle in the face of Dronacharya's very great power in the military art, there were many others who were causes of fear. They are mentioned by Duryodhana as great stumbling blocks on the path of victory, because each and every one of them was as formidable as Bhima and Arjuna. He knew the strength of Bhima and Arjuna, and thus he compared the others with them. Next, Drishtaketu, Drishtaketu, Chekitana, Chekitan, Kashirajah, Kashiraj, Cha, also, vīrya-vān, very powerful, Purujit, Purujit, Kunti Bhojah, Kunti Bhoj, Cha, and Shebya, Shebya, Cha, and Narapungava, hero in the human society. There are also great heroic, powerful fighters like Drishtaketu, Chekitan, Kashiraj, Purujit, Kunti Bhoj, and Shebya. Next, Yudhāmanyu, Yudhāmanyu, Cha, and vikrānta, mighty, Uttamaujā, Uttamaujā, Cha, and vīrya-vān, very powerful, Subhadrā, the son of Subhadrā, draupadeyāś, the sons of Draupadī, Cha, and sarve, all, eva, certainly, mahā-rathāḥ, great chariot fighters. There are the mighty Yudhāmanyu, the very powerful Uttamaujā, the son of Subhadrā, and the sons of Draupadī. All these warriors are great chariot fighters. Mukam karoti vācalam pangum langite girim yat kripatamham vande Shri Guru Dinataranam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanyeshwaram. Hare Krishna. So these 3 verses and a lot to learn, and so many great fighters are described here. So some of us may know, some of us may not know. So in all 3 verses, like Atra Shura Maheshwasa Bhimarjuna Samayudhi Yuyudhano Viratascha Drupadascha mahā-rathāḥ Drishtaketush Chekitana Kashirajascha vīrya-vān Purujit Kunti Bhojascha Shebyascha Narapungava Yudhāmanyuṣ vikrānta uttamaujāṣ vīrya-vān saubhadro draupadeyāṣ sarva eva mahā-rathāḥ. So who is speaking these verses? Duryodhana. And what is he doing? He is actually praising. Praising to whom? Pandavas. Because all these fighters are fighting with whom? Pandavas side actually. So now an interesting question may come here actually. Why somebody praises particularly his enemy? Because in this world we see that like we praise our friends, or we praise the people to whom we love, or to whom we are in relationship, or to whom we consider worthy, then we praise. But what is the need to praise someone who is my opponent, who is my enemy? So, any guess?
Because we are anxious. When we are anxious about it.
Okay, yes. The one answer because he was anxious.
How powerful they are.
Just like his father in the opening of the verse, he asked Sanjaya, Dharma kshetre kurukshetre samveta yuyutsava mama ka pandavasyeva kim akurvata Sanjaya. So Acharya said, such a foolish question he is asking actually. If somebody went into the battlefield, what they will do? They will fight. If you went into the playground, of course you will not do worship there. If you come to the temple, of course you will not play in the temple. You will be worshipping actually. It's a foolish question. What they do? Certainly they went to fight. But because he was anxious. Because that it was Dharma Kshetra and Kurukshetra, and he knew that Pandavas are the people who follow virtue, who follow Dharma. And my sons, they never follow. So certainly, they are not going to win. So fear was there. Similarly, the same fear was in the heart of Duryodhana also. That's why he was praising. So it's a great lesson to all of us. Sometimes we find people praise unnecessarily and who keep enmity with us. So Acharya tells there are several reasons why he was praising. First, he was feeling insecurity. And this is the material situation actually. In material world, we always feel insecure when we are away from Krishna, when we don't take shelter of Krishna. But when you take shelter of Krishna, then there is no question of insecurity. So after this ahara, nidra, bhaya, enam. So bhaya is the principle actually, which is running the material world. Bhayam dutiya bhinivesh tasyat. Why people are fearful? Because they forgot Krishna. Bhayam dutiya bhinivesh. The moment we go away from Krishna, life becomes fearful. And we are into this material world which is called dark actually. So let us come back to the main point actually. He was feeling insecure, certainly, though the Kauravas, they had 11 Akshohini division. Out of 18 Akshohini division, Pandavas have only 7 Akshohini. And they had 11 Akshohini divisions, and the great thing was that the great warrior was with Duryodhana. And 3 were invincible, nobody can kill them. Drauna, one among the first ones, Bhishma, invincible. There is no one like Bhishma on the earth. Drauna, again invincible. As long as the bow is in the hand of Drauna, no one can kill him. That was his power. And then Kripacharya, invincible. And there were others also Karna and other things. But you're just talking about the prominent people. And yes, here, these 5 Pandavas were there, they were invincible. Because they were not humans. They were subhumans. Because they were humans, but they were begotten by demigods actually. So they were half human and half god. All Yudhishthir and Bhima and Arjuna, they were begotten by Dharma, and then Vayu, and then Indra, and then Nakul and Sahadev, Ashwini Kumar. So they were also invincible, and we know that when the war was ended, this 8 people survived. Few people survived. In Kaurava side, yes, Krituvarma was there, Kripacharya was there, Duryodhana was there, Ashwathama was there. Yeah, Ashwathama, another, an expansion of Lord Shiva actually. So, Acharya tells several reasons. First, he was insecure. He was feeling insecure actually. Even though they had 11 Akshohini divisions, and even though they were sided by Bhishma and Drona, but still, he was very much, fearful, particularly about, because he knew that Krishna is on their side. And the verse comes we often hear that Mare Krishna Rakhe Krishna Mare Ke. So we say Jayastu Pandu Putranam Yesham Pakshe Janardana. Glories will be the sons of Pandava, because in their side, what happens, there's Pandavas are there, Krishna is there actually. The second reason, they were telling, he was envious, and we will know, because he is telling the name of, Yudhāmanyuḥ. Who was Yudhāmanyuḥ? Satyaki. And a great, warrior who came in the clan of, Vrashni clan, in which Krishna came actually. He was a Yadava, very powerful Yadava, and he accepted, Arjuna as his teacher. And he learned, martial art from, Arjuna. And that's how, he sided, with Pandavas actually. But the surprising thing that, when the Mahabharata war was about to happen, Balramji withdrew. Because Balramji thought like both sides is my, like relatives. So I don't want to, fight. I just want to go to pilgrimage actually. So Satyaki and Kritvarma, they were also people, they also told, that yes, we were also going to do the same thing actually. But eventually we see that, they took side. One took the side of, Pandava and one took the side of, Kritvarma actually. So especially in like this, Duryodhana was like, thinking, how come this Yudhāman who promised Balram and, he is fighting with Pandavas. So that was also, it's like something, not digested by, Duryodhana actually. When some people are envious, they don't think what is in their plate. They think what is in someone's other's plate actually. How come can this person, can fight with, with this Pandava? Then another, he will quote an example of Shebya. And he was coming in the dynasty of Shibi. And this in Mahabharata, like we know, when Pandavas were in exile, Jayadratha tried to kidnap Draupadī. And Shebya's son also, was there. He also tried to kidnap Draupadī. And Bhima eventually killed him actually. So then Duryodhana was thinking that his son was killed by Bhima. Now why he is joining the side of Pandavas? That's how all this description comes in. There is a book called Personalities of Mahabharata, wherein all these descriptions are given. So he was just confused, what to do. Why this Shebya? Of course he is joining. The side of this Pandavas. And another the example is this Chekitan. Who was Chekitan? Actually, he was the son of Drishtaketu. Now, there were 3 Drishtaketu. So, this one Drishtaketu, one Drishtaketu, also mentioned here, one Drishtaketu was the son of Drishtadumna. Drishtadumna has 4 sons, so one of them is Drishtaketu. Another Drishtaketu is the, son of Shishupal, who was the king of Chedi, like this region, Agra, this region, Virugur. So, Chedi kingdom was there, and he was the son. And we all know that in the Rajasuya Yagya, Shishupal was killed. By whom? Krishna. And Krishna is a great friend of Pandavas actually. And his son is Drishtaketu. And Drishtaketu also sided Pandavas. And his son was Chekitan actually. So Duryodhana was thinking how Chekitan can fight with the Pandavas. He should take the revenge of, his father's, enemy. But so this description comes, so that's why he is telling Yudhāno Virātaṣ. Of course, we know about Virat actually, because Virat wasn't Virat was a king of Matsya kingdom. Where is the Matsya kingdom? At present day, it's Nepal, like Janakpur and all these areas, like we say Virat Nagar. So in earlier it was known as Matsya kingdom. Of course, he was under the pressure of Kichaka, who was commander in general. But then finally Bhima killed Kichak, and then in that way, Virat gave one Akshohini division, and it is said that he was actually one of the incarnation of Marutas. Like similarly, like Drupad is also an incarnation of Maruta. They all were demigods. So actually, it is just a war between demigods and demons. All the demigods, sided Pandavas, and all the demons, sided, like the Kauravas actually. Like another classic example, sometimes, Mahabharata is very puzzling. Here it is a Shalya, who was a king of Madras, and his sister was Madri. Eventually, she got married to Pandav. So, and Yudhishthir Maharaj and Shalva, they had a good friendship. Shalya had a good friendship. But then Duryodhana tricked, and he sided Kauravas. And he fought with Kauravas. And when Arjuna was fighting with Karna, so Krishna was driving the chariot of Arjuna. So Karna's chariot was driven by Shalya. But so sometimes we think that, how come, Shalya, what is his fate that he had to, fight with, the Pandavas. But when we go and see the description, then it's saying that actually he was an incarnation of a demon whose name was Simmalad. So he was actually a demon in his previous life. Though in this life he got connections with Pandavas, but ultimately because he was a demon, so he went into the side of demon and he fighted actually. So this insecurity, envy and pride also. Duryodhana, because he wanted to minimize, the position of Pandavas also, like, okay, you may have so many great fighters, but in my side, he will say, Asmakam tu Vishishta, next he will describe. So he was also proud. And the fourth thing, like, he wanted to keep, Drona on his toe. So, like, he wanted to, because like Bhishma and Drona was there, and he was like a great politician to whom should be given, the post of commander-in-chief. So he was a great politician, actually. So a great lesson to be learned, actually, that he wanted to please Drona, Bhishma, at the same time he wanted to keep, Drona in his favor. But Drona already told that, don't worry, because we are loyal to, this Hastinapur kingdom, and we will fight, with you. So that was the reason. That's why he is saying, like, he say, like, Dhrishtaketu's Chekitan. Actually, Dhrishtaketu was not a big fighter. Of course, but we all know that Dhrishtaketu was a son of Drupad, and he came from a sacrificial fire. He was an expansion. He was Shastra says he was an expansion of Agni, actually. So his main purpose of coming was to kill Drona, because Drona and Drupad, they were friends in their Gurukul, and in their childhood they promised, like, Drupad told that if I'll get the kingdom, I'll give half of to you. And then eventually they all, like, he became a very great Brahmana. Then Drona took education from Parashurama. And then Drupad also became the kingdom of Panchala Desha. And then Dronacharya was married to Kripi, the sister of Kripacharya. And from them they had a son, Ashwathama. And because he was a strict Brahmana, so he was very poor. So in Vedic culture, like, who is a Brahmana? Brahmana is by nature poor, basically. Because of course, the Yajan, Patan, Yajan, Dan, whatever they accept, they keep it something, give it as a charity. So he went to Drupad, and like, he reminded that, in childhood we were friends, so you please give a cow to me so that I can, give milk to my son, actually. And Drupad, refused, and like, he made a mockery. And Drona felt insulted, and eventually Drona joined Kauravas, and he became the martial art teacher. And finally he took the revenge with his disciples, Pandavas, and they took half of the kingdom, actually. So this is about Drupad, but he was also an incarnation. So he said Dhrishtaketu. So like, remember this Dhrishtaketu. Who is Dhrishtaketu? He is a son of Drupad. And later, this Dhrishtaketu was given to Dronacharya to train, and Dronacharya taught everything. So that's how, like, he was belittling, one side. So this is all, like, telling about Duryodhan's fear, actually. So we learned, insecurity, fear, and then, another thing, like, is a pride, and he want to keep Drona on his toes. And also he expressed his fear. Especially, he knew that, like, this Dhrishtaketu was born to kill Drona. It means Drona will be killed. Similarly, Shikhandi was there. So Bhishma will also be killed. And so this is like, and he was particularly, Duryodhan was, fearful about two people, Arjun and Bhima, actually, because he has seen the strength, actually. Because he knew there were only three people who could lift the Gandhi bow, or who could lift, the bow. Like, one is like, Bhima, Arjuna and Krishna, or like in Draupadi Swayamvar, they saw the strength, actually, that how Arjuna and Bhima single-handedly, defeated everybody. Bhima simply took out a tree, and all the kings were there, and everybody was just shocked, and single-handedly, though they were in the Brahmana's dress, so he saw once the power of Bhima and Arjuna. And all this, he said, like, all this, Yudhāman, Viratash, Dhrishtaketu, Chekitan, they are also as formidable as Bhima and Arjuna. So we should not undermine. And also, he also saw once the power of, Arjuna, when they were in exile. Like, Pandavas got 13 years of exile, 12 years they were in Kamyavan, and 1 year they went to Matsya kingdom. That's a Virat kingdom, actually. There Arjuna became Brahannala, the teacher of Uttara, dancing teacher. And one day, all these Kurus, they attacked. Because like earlier, people used to fight for two things. For like cow and for fields, basically. And in Vedic culture, it's like Gavyo, Gavyavan, Dhanyo, Dhanyavan. If you have the cows and if you have the food, dhan, then you are a wealthy person. So Virat has many cows, actually. So all the Kauravas, they attacked. And that time, the Virat was in anxiety because Kichak was not there. So who will protect the kingdom? So then Arjuna told, no problem, I'll go. Arjuna went with his son Uttar. And then finally we all know that Arjuna shot one arrow and all, it's called yawning weapon. So all, went into a sleep, and then Arjuna took out the cloths of everyone actually. So in that way, single-handedly Arjuna defeated all great Kaurav fighters like Bhishma and everything. So he was very much formidable. But now the question comes here actually, when Prabhupada was giving lecture on the same verse, Prabhupada was saying like, sometimes people ask question from us that we the devotees are there and our purpose is to chant Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. So why we are discussing about these great fighters? What is the need there actually? And like sometimes, because our purpose is to chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So what is the need you should read, Atra Shura Maheshwasa, Vimarjun Samayodhi, Yudhāno Viratascha, Drupadascha mahā-rathāḥ, and then Drishtaketush Chaikitana, Kashirajascha vīrya-vān, Purijit Kunti Bhojascha, Shebyascha Narapungava, Yudhāmanyuś vikrānta, uttamaujāś vīrya-vān, saubhadro draupadeyāś, sarva eva mahā-rathāḥ. Prabhupada said, yes. Because there is a class of people, Sahajya, who think that to practice Krishna consciousness or to practice devotional life is simply to discuss about Radha and Krishna. Prabhupada said, no, it's not. Like when somebody thinks like that, then his understanding is not perfect. Then Prabhupada quote a very interesting verse from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu that Anasaktasya Vishyan Yatharam, that's 1-2-255. Anasaktasya Vishyan Yatharam Upyunjata Nirbandha Krishna Sambandhe Yuktam Vairāgyuchyate. Prabhupada said, anything which is connected to Krishna, that this Mahabharata war is organized by whom? Krishna. Because what is the purpose of Krishna? When Krishna came in Dwapar Yuga, its purpose was Yada Yadai Dharmasya Glanir Bhavati Bharata Abhyutthanava Dharmasya Tadatmanam Sadam Paritranai Sadhunam Vinashaya Cha Dushkritam Dharma Sansthapanarthaya Sambhavami Yuge Me. I come, and Krishna came, and this was Krishna's purpose. The Mahabharata war was arranged by the will of Krishna, not by the will of Yudhishthira and Duryodhana. Because Krishna says in Bhagavad-Gita, Krishna told Nimit Matram Bhavya Savyasachim, that Arjuna, if you think that you are not going to kill these people, please don't remain in illusion. Because their fate has already been decided. These people are going to be killed in any way. Now there is an opportunity for you, you kill them and take the credit. That's when all the demons took side of, Duryodhana. And all the demigods, took side of, Pandavas actually. Interesting. Even like in Pandava's side, among the Rakshasas, Ghatotkach was there. Then the Kauravas, Alambush was there. Equal fighters were there. So this was an arrangement of Krishna. So Prabhupada said, Nirbandha Krishna Sambandhe Yuktam Vairāgyuchyate. This is the right understanding, and this understanding is given by our Acharya Srila Rupa Goswami. That is why we people are called Prabhupada-nuga or Rupa-nuga actually. We follow the footsteps of Rupa-nuga. Why? Because Rupa Goswami, who is the personality who understood the heart of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Whenever we have the class, we recite this invocation mantra, Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam. One who can understand, one who has understood the mind of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Prabhupada is saying, but this is a very subtle understanding of philosophy. And if you miss it, you miss Krishna consciousness. Similarly, the same Lord in the age of Kali come as a Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And this time, what is his purpose? Again to establish Dharma, Yuga Dharma. Because Lord comes like in many ways and for a purpose. Basically, Dharma Sansthapanarthaya Sambhavami Yuge Yuge. And what is the Yuga Dharma of Kali Yuga? Sankirtan. To chant Krishna Varnam Tusha Krishnam Sango Pangastra Parshadam Yagya Sankirtana Prai Yajanti Sumedha. So this is the Yuga Dharma of Kali Yuga. And for that purpose, Lord Krishna came himself as a devotee, Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But his weapon is different. What is his weapon? His weapon is a weapon of love, and that is Nam Sankirtan. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. And Prabhupada says actually, now see, we all are assembled here. We are using this dictaphone. We are using this microphone. We are using this electricity. We are using so many things actually. We are not simply foolishly rejecting. Why we are accepting all these things? Because it is in connection with Krishna. And what is the purpose of this? So that to use it for Krishna. So that eventually we can purify ourselves and we can benefit the world. And that is the request of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu actually. That Bharat Bhumite Haila Manushya Janmayar, Janma Sarthak Kari Paropkar actually. But then Prabhupada said that these people, the so-called devotees or the Sahajiya people, they don't understand this thing. And that's why, they do not discuss about that. And then, then Prabhupada, tell about this Mayavadi, concept also. That they reject God. They don't accept God. And why? Because they don't understand, they don't understand the purpose of the God actually. Then Prabhupada says actually what is the purpose of God in this world actually? So Lord come in this world to reclaim, the fallen souls, to reclaim the living entity. When He came as a Krishna and when He saw that the earth was burdened by so many miscreants. And at the same time there were so many qualified individuals who were going to make their life perfect. Krishna personally came and shows his audience Krishna. Krishna spoke Bhagavad-Gita, and then finally to wipe out these miscreants, Krishna arranged a war. And all these people brought together, and eventually bad people were removed. And Prabhupada gave an example of paddy field. Suppose you are a farmer and you want to grow a rice, paddy. First of all, what you do? You go to the field and you remove all the unwanted plants. Because that is required. And then you grow the paddy, then paddy grow nicely. Otherwise, you simply grow the paddy and you don't remove, this unwanted plants, then what happens? It doesn't go properly. Then, Prabhupada quoted his personal, incidents, many times people come to me and they complain that, Swamiji, what are you doing? You are telling people to chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. And you are making people useless. They are not doing anything. They simply sit down and chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Then Prabhupada started laughing. So then Prabhupada said actually, these people criticize me in that way. But what do they know? Then Prabhupada said, I told that person that, sir, you have not seen Vaishnava. You think that Vaishnava means a person who just sit and chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. But you don't know the power of Vaishnava. A Vaishnava is very expert. He is called Daksha. If he can sit down and chant Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, then whenever there is a need, he can go to the field and can fight also. And then Prabhupada gave an example, in the history of mankind, there were two great wars was there. One was Ravana war, that's we all know Ramayana is there, and one is this fratricidal war, the fight between two brothers, that is Kauravas and Pandavas, this mahā-rathāḥ, the history of greater India actually. And Prabhupada said, who was the hero of that war? Ram and Hanuman in Ravana war, and in the Mahabharata war, Krishna and Arjuna. So he say Bajrangji, so this is the war. So Ravana war and this Krishna. And then one side, the Vaishnava and Vishnu, they became victorious actually. So that is why when one practices Krishna consciousness in a real spirit, he does not see that this thing is Maya and this thing is Krishna. Prabhupada said, this Mayavadi people say that this world is false. Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya. But we do not say, Vaishnavas do not reject actually. We do not say this world is fire. We say this world is an energy of Krishna. Now all we have to learn how to use this energy for the service of energetic actually, for the pleasure. So then Prabhupada said, the sum and substance of Krishna consciousness philosophy, the sum and substance of Krishna consciousness philosophy is what? That to see the object and things of this world in relation to Krishna, and to learn from a qualified person how to use it for Krishna. Not to reject, because there is nowhere the rejection is given actually. Nowhere the rejection is given. The entire Bhagavad-Gita is teaching about yoga. If you are at the level of senses, no problem. You can begin with karma yoga. If you are slightly elevated, you can take part in jnana yoga. If you are more elevate, you are free from material desires, you can be an Ashtanga yogi. But if you have understood the God, if you have heard from a devotee, if you know about God, you know about Paramasatya, absolute truth, you can directly engage yourself in 9 devotional service. Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu, Smaranam Padasevanam, Archanam Vandanam Dasyam, Sakhyam Atma Nivedanam. So you can directly engage yourself in that kind of devotion. So it's a yoga, it's a union basically. It's not a rejection, it's not a negation actually. So the sum and substance of Krishna consciousness movement is what? To see the things in a relationship with Krishna and to learn how to use it for Krishna. For what? For Krishna's pleasure. For not my pleasure. Then what will happen to me? When Krishna will be pleased, you will be pleased. Because asmin tushte sarvayam tushte. When Krishna is satisfied, everybody is satisfied actually. Then Prabhupada quoted another verse from Bhakti Rasamrasa Sindhu that Prapanchikatiya buddhya hari sambandhi vastuna. Nirbandha Krishna sambandhe yuktam vairagya. Prapanchikatiya buddhya. And I give up, this intelligence that this is not acceptable, this is not acceptable, this is maya. No. Prapanchikatiya buddhya hari sambandhi vastuna. Anything which can be utilized in the service of the Lord, that is appreciated, that is accepted, and one should use it, and one should make one's life perfect actually. So through this Bhagavad-Gita perfect, there is a lot to say about that. And Prabhupada said we don't reject, and we relish this description, and we remember also these great personalities also, and we also understand our relationship with Krishna, and in that way we eventually make our life perfect. Hare Krishna.
Hare.
So we still have time if any question is there. Yes, Prabhupada.
I came late, still I'm asking, please forgive me for that.
No, it's okay. Thank you.
But this discussion was going on last classes also, especially about the war, like as you said, that Vaishnava can fight also. So we see some religious group, they war like they do, fighting in the name of religion. So how to understand, are they okay, or if Vaishnava has to fight, then in what circumstances he
Yeah. Good question, brother. It is everything should be judged by its intent, not just by external activity. So first of thing, what is the definition of a Vaishnava? What is the definition of a devotee and non-devotee basically? Devotee does everything according to Shastra. He is not whimsical in nature. So if a devotee, like Hanuman burnt Lanka because he was ordered by Ram that go and then do the service actually. Arjuna was incited by Krishna that Arjuna was not willing to fight. They were very happy. They were living in Kamyavan because according to Brajvasi, there's Kamyavan is real Vrindavan. They were very happy. They were in Vrindavan, Kamyavan, surrounded by sages. All the time they were hearing about Krishna Katha. And Yudhishthir Maharaj had personally no desire to be a king. But actually it is Krishna who wanted to make him a king. And even Arjuna said, even what to say about it? Bhima also told, Krishna, let the war, let there should be no war. And then Krishna is looking towards Draupadī and Bhima is like, Bhima, you are saying? You are saying? Then Draupadī, showed, his her hair to Bhima, and then Bhima, remembered, her vow, his vow, that I will, kill all the Kauravas, and from their blood I will wash, the hairs of, Draupadī actually. So this is the main actually point actually. So first thing, a devotee is never whimsical. There's a verse in Bhagavad-Gita 16.3, Yashastram vidhyutsrajya vartate kamakarata nasa siddhim avapnoti na sukham na param gati. This is tasma shastra pramanam te karya vyavasthato gyatva shastra vidanaptam karyam karmarse. But whereas a non-devotee, he is whimsical in nature. So any whimsical action is not supported. Right? So some in the name of religion, in the name of spirituality, in the name of nationality, in the name of politics, no whimsical, unless and until that instruction is coming from the Supreme in parampara, in line. So generally Prabhupada says that violence is not required. A Vaishnava is not violent, A Vaishnava is a non-violence. Like what is our attitude? Trinadapi sunichena, tarorapi side, real Vaishnava. Amananina amanadena, kirtaniya sadhari. Vaishnava is not violent. But if there is a need, Prabhupada says like, when all reasons fail, then war is necessary actually. So all, people tried their best that war should not happen. But Duryodhan was adamant actually. He said, Shuchagra, I am not going to give a place even, with the tip of the needle actually. Then, so here there is an interesting, he's thinking like, what is the difference between Kauravas and Pandavas? Though Pandavas were of 5 and all 5 were differently talented. Yudhishthir was a dharma personified. Bhima was like a strong person. Arjuna, like the best archer. Sahadev was an intelligent person. Nakul, extremely beautiful. But they were united. They all had different opinions, but they were united. Kauravas, they were 100, but they were divided. It happened, when Draupadī was being disrobed, vikrānta stood. So this Pandavas, they were fighting out of love for Krishna. But this Kauravas, they were fighting for selfish motive. That's why Arjuna was concerned. Oh, all these people will be killed. Just because Yudhishthira was concerned, because of me, let me give up the war. Let me become a sannyasi. Let me beg. And these people should not be killed. So many women will be widowed. This Arjuna can think like that. But was Duryodhan thinking? No. He was like, whether you fight or you don't fight, I'm going to, we will not give this kingdom to you. So they were selfish again. Pandavas were conned. They had no choice, either fight or die, because they were Kshatriyas. According to Varna and Ashram, if you are a Brahmana, you can sustain your life by begging. If you are a sannyas. But for Kshatriya and Grahastha, they cannot beg. Kshatriya need a land so that they can rule, collect taxes and can maintain their livelihood actually. But whereas Kauravas, they were comfortable. They were comfortable because they just got, the kingdom, by on actually. So the main point is, whether one should indulge in violence or not first, it should be supported by Shastra. The order should come in disciplic succession, gurus, and it should be, appreciated by the assembly of devotees, sages. Like one such classic example from Bhagavatam is like Vaina. When Vaina became tyrannical, all the Brahmanas unanimously said, kill him. And they start cursing him and the Vaina god die actually. So when the particular proposal is appreciated by the assembly of sages, devotees, and the order comes in disciplic succession, Guru Parampara, and it is also supported by Shastra, then this is actually the real Dharma. So we should check on that. Like that's why we have like this Guru, Sadhu and a Shastra actually. But most of the people probably in this world fight because of their own selfish motive. Like this is the very first teaching of Bhagavad-Gita, that in this world people are attached. What is the meaning of, every character has a meaning. Dhritarashtra. Dhritarashtra means Dhrit, one who is very attached with nation. It was not the Duryodhan who wanted to be a king. It was the Dhritarashtra who wanted to remain king. And Duryodhan was his hope. Because when he got by birth he was blind. And he had this deep lamentation in his heart that though he had the strength of 1,000 elephants, and he is extremely intelligent because he is the son of Vyasadeva, but the only thing, because he is blind, so he cannot become a king. So that tease was there in his heart. But Pandu was such a great and noble person that he gave so much respect and love to Dhritarashtra, and this Vidura and Pandu and the Dhritarashtra, they were like, these three were one people. So Dhritarashtra completely forgot. Though the Pandu was the king, but he was like that feeling of that. But when in the absence of Pandu, when he resumed the throne, then he became attached, and now he didn't want to give it to Yudhishthira. Because his logic was that Yudhishthira is not Pandu's son. Yudhishthira whose son? Dharma's son. The Kuru kingdom should be given to Kauravas. That's why he is considering, my sons are Kauravas. Others are not Kaurava, they are Pandu actually. This is the discrimination sometimes we see in spiritual organizations also. Like, when people are specially, related, so they relate to them. Because this person is connected to me, okay, yes, this is my person. Since this person is not connected to me, or is not, that's a Dhritarashtra. That's like this is called spiritually blind. Spiritually blind. And why it happens? It happens because of envy. And the classic, solution of envy is given by, there is a conversation between Narad Muni and Yudhishthir Maharaj in Bhagavatam 7th canto. In Bhagavatam 7th canto, there is a chapter 15. This chapter is entitled The Instruction for the Civilized Human Being, in which 10 kinds of vices are described. So in particularly text number 22 to 24, Narad Muni tells that how you can conquer envy, how you can conquer anger, how you can conquer sleep, how you can conquer lust. All these 10, Ravana's 10 head are there, all these 10 vices are described. And he gave an example how envy can be conquered. So he say, you become envious when you have something in your possession. Just like if this kartal is in my possessions, then I am attached to it. And if somebody tries to take this, then immediately I become envious. So he says, if you want to give up envy, you should give up the desire for sense gratification. But now how can I give up the desire for sense gratification? When I become possessionless. When I have nothing, where is the question of sense gratification? So that is why when you don't possess anything, you will not be attached. You will not think of enjoying that object. And when you are not thinking of that enjoying that object, you will not be envious of others. Suppose if a house is there and it doesn't belong to you, whatever people do with the house, do you mind it? No, because it doesn't belong to me and I'm not enjoying it. So since it is in my possession, so the idea comes to enjoy. And because the idea comes to enjoy, so I become fearful. If somebody will take it, then I will be envious to that person actually. So then he said, envy can be given up by giving up the desire for sense gratification. And that can be given up by becoming possessionless. So this answer is given. And that's how we say, Krishna is the property of those, they are akinchan. Akinchan means that they have nothing. So those people, they have nothing, they can love Krishna only. So but when you have something, so you can. That is what Chaitanya, na dhanam, na janam, na sundarim. Apparently you may have this, but inside, Lord gives the teaching to Raghunath Das, antare nishtha kar, bahye lok vivar. You accept. We say nirbandha Krishna sambandha. Yes, this jacket is needed. It's very cold. But inside, you should not, maintain this mentality that, if it is only there, then only will be. If it is not there, it's okay. I'll continue. Yes, Prabhuji.
My question is on the basis of religion or faith or dharma, we have some people are fighting all over the world, and there are going on fights. So they say, okay, in our scripture it is written, if you don't follow our scripture, you are whatever name they call.
The question is why they are fighting, because they want to enjoy.
No, they are saying we want that everybody should be like us.
That is their enjoyment. No? They wanted to make everything like them. They don't want to make everything like what Krishna wants. There's a difference actually.
No, they are not saying like what I want. This is our prophet says.
The same thing, like sometimes people say the Prabhupada, this is called extended sense gratification. A person says, I am not earning for myself. I am earning for my family.
Extended sense gratification.
What is meaning actually? I am not earning for myself. I just go to the office and I earn lakhs of rupees and I hardly use 10,000, few thousand rupees for me. All I give it to my family. Such a great renunciate, na? But no, it's called extended sense gratification. All this humanitarianism, socialism, nationality, sense gratification. Because what is subtle profit, adoration, distinction, fame. Because this flesh came from my flesh, and because that flesh is happy, I am happy. That's what Prabhupada, extended sense gratification. So because I belong to this particular faith, you should also be in that faith. So in that way, that subtle enjoyment is there actually. Yes,
Prabhupada, regarding envy thing, you said when one becomes possessionless, suppose someone is working somewhere, let's take an example, then that person should leave the job,
no, that is the wrong mentality.
Desire for possession.
Because anasaktasya vishyan.
How one becomes like
Anasaktasya vishyan yatharam upyunjata nirbandha Krishna sambandhe yuktam vairagya. The question is how we become this world, is like this life is like a journey. You get into train, travel, When the station comes, you get down. You don't think about which berth I was, what bogie I was in actually. So point is that, what is our philosophy, we don't say what is right and wrong. We say, anukulasya sankalpa pratikulasya varjanam. If it is favorable for Krishna, I will keep it with me. If it is not favorable for Krishna, I will reject it. My principle is not good and bad. Like, I'm not like, other austere. Okay, I will, take bath with cold water only. Yes, it is Shastra mentioned that one should perform tapasya. But by taking cold water bath, if I cannot chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra, better I take hot water bath and I chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So our philosophy, is like not a rejection actually. If by being in that state, my bhakti can be executed properly, that is the best state. So the point is, we accept, but we do not become attached. If somebody comes, leave this place, yes, thank you. Hare Krishna, we go. That is the attitude. When that attitude comes by practicing bhakti only, because Bhagavatam discusses 1, 2, 4, Vasudeve Bhagavati bhakti-yoga prayojita. It is easy to say, Janayatyashu vairagyam jnanam chayad hetukam. When real bhakti, pure devotional services perform, a person automatically becomes knowledgeable and real renunciation arises in the heart. He really becomes renunciate. So when an object is taken from you, don't mind. Yes, Mataji.
You're telling that all demons took the side of Duryodhana, and all demigods take the side of this.
Majority. Then question, why Bhishma and Drona?
But then arises question, what about Bhishma there?
Exactly same
and Dronacharya and Kripacharya, and there were so many very noble, nice persons.
Yes.
But they were taking the side of Duryodhana.
Yes.
Yeah, same mind.
Good question. I was going to explain the same thing actually. But, again, like the Acharyas, tells, like, if you read Mahabharata, like some puzzling, but we see majority of the fighters, you took both the sides actually. And like they were basically, those they were demons, they went to, Kaurva side. The demigods, they, came into, the Pandava side actually. Because it is a, birds of same feather flock together. But we should understand, like when Lord performs something, when whatever a Lord does, it is not karma, it is pastime. Actions actually. And certain devotees are there, they share a particular relationship with the Lord actually. And Lord would like to facilitate them actually. So, this Bhishma had a relationship with Krishna in a chivalry, vīrya-vān. The Bhishma was a devotee. So, and that was there actually. And that's an arrangement of Krishna. And like, for example, we see like Shiva. He's the greatest devotee of Lord. But many a times, when the demon war takes place, Lord Shiva takes side of, demons actually.
Yeah, he was fighting.
So that, the balance can be created. And the match is like proper. Otherwise, like, if a 5-year-old child is fighting with a 50-year-old, 35-year-old person, it is like, injustice actually, not proper actually. So Krishna wanted to have balance, and when Bhishma was shooting the arrow, it was seen that Krishna was feeling that he is throwing, garlands on me or flowers on me actually. So it is Krishna's pastimes, many lessons.
You said also about envy, just because time is
Yeah, sure.
About envy. You remember when Bhishma Dev was a living body on the arrows after the battlefield, and he gave instruction to everybody, to all his relatives. So also he was saying about this, how can we to come about the sleep and anger and this and that, and also about envy. I think there was saying that if you are envious to somebody, you should serve to that person. Because why you are envy? You are not envy to this person. You are particularly envy to this person. It means from your previous life, you got some relationship in such a way that you are indebted to this person. So you should return back something to him. So you worship, you serve to this person. And the relationship will be completely
Thank you.
rectified.
Thank you, Mataji. And in that way, Prabhupada is saying actually, if you don't preach Krishna consciousness, actually we are envious. And we are really doing violence. Because like if you don't preach, people remain here actually.
This is greatest violence, he said.
So applications vary. Because like not everybody is on same level. We are on different level of consciousness actually. The more we become purified, the more it goes on. Yes, Prabhu.
But like, what does it mean preaching is? If let us say, if somebody is cleaning dishes in DT kitchen, so how he is preaching? He should not feel like I am not preaching, or he should feel that he is preaching.
Yeah, actually, again, when you say like what is actually preaching means basically, the real essence behind preaching is like some are there, like just like Rupa Goswami, tasmat kenapi upayana mane Krishna niveshya. He says for debate. Similarly, by your actions, some are there, like you should attract people towards Krishna. You should connect people to Krishna. That's preaching basically. Now, all other forms are applications. Like, there are two things in Bhakti Rasamrita that comes like, one is called principle and the other thing is called detail. The principle, like what, like some or other you should lead your life in such a way that simply by seeing you, people become Krishna conscious. And that is the definition, like Bhakti Vinod Thakur says actually, the strength of a Vaishnava is just, how many people he convert into Vaishnavism actually. He is a Sparshmani. So some people are really, really exemplary in their behavior that simply by coming in their association, people feel that yes, I should, or people feel obliged that. If I don't serve Krishna as if, like I'm just a burden on earth actually. So that is where Mahaprabhu wants like achar and prachar actually. So when actually it goes side by side, when the achar is perfect now, when it comes like Prabhupada say, everything depends on your hearing. The more you hear, the more you become advanced. And if you hear na, you cannot remain without doing kirtan, without speaking. And it's like, jharne kab phootte hain? And when, spring comes, when, the rain, it is rain here actually. So when you're hearing, you cannot stop yourself. It's just coming out. So when your shravanam is pakka, kirtanam will be there. I think we should stop it here. We can personally discuss, ma'am. Okay, yes, last question.
You said no, everything should be judged by intent. Okay, and suppose someone's intention is good, but it's against Shastra. What? It is a contradiction.
Again, like see, it is a Vaishnavera Kriya Mudra Vigyana. Like for example, Prabhupada allowed Brahmacharini ashram.
Yeah.
Is there any description in the Shastra? But Prabhupada. So then you will say like it is against of Shastra. But the question is, see the Prabhupada intent. Prabhupada wanted to give Krishna consciousness.
Yeah.
And whatever was best, then like whatever was favorable for that time, that giving them best Krishna consciousness, but Prabhupada did it like. Similarly, like Prabhupada traveled, crossed the ocean. Sannyasi should not go.
So like two things, no. According to Shastra, or there is one thing, Anukulya Sankalpa Pratikulya Varjanam. This may contract my
this is a Mataji, you can read more Nectar of Instruction, text number 5 and 6, you can learn more. Main thing, Vaishnavera Kriya Mudra, we cannot judge, a person from outside, because a devotee should always be seen by his internal mood. And it takes time, because unless and until we become devotee, we cannot understand who is a devotee. So the main Mahaprabhu's first request is that Bharat Bhumite Hoila Manusya Janmyar Janma Sarthak Kari. First you make your life perfect, then Kari Paropkar. So charity begins from home actually. So when we really follow the sadhana bhakti properly, everything just comes. Everything comes, like Atha Sri Krishnam Namadina Bhaved Grayam Indriya Sevon Mukhe Jivado Swayame Vaspuratyada. When this bhakti begins properly, everything starts revealing, because this knowledge is a matter of revelation. It's not a matter of acquisition that just by reading the book, collecting, remembering so many verses, you'll know. It's just the more you chant, more you hear, more you purify yourself, and eventually you grow. Okay. Thank you all so much, and please forgive me if in any way I was offensive and not proper. Hare Krishna.